What is up, guys? Welcome back to New Gen Plus. The wait is finally over. Housemarque is back to redefine the genre with Saros, and it is looking absolutely legendary. We are breaking down the 10 things you need to know about the most anticipated PS5 title of the year, from the high-octane bullet ballet combat to Rahul Kohli's powerhouse performance as Arjun Devraj. We're covering everything from the April 30, 2026 launch date to those mind-blowing PS5 Pro enhancements, and trust me, you won't want to miss number 4. Let's dive in. Number 10, the countdown to April 30. We are kicking things off with the exact moment you can finally get your hands on Housemarque's massive spiritual successor to Returnal. Saros is officially launching on April 30, 2026. If you have been following the development cycle closely, you probably know this launch was originally penciled in for March 20. So why the short delay? The community and media are largely framing this as a crucial polish period. Housemarque is taking that extra month to ensure everything is perfectly balanced and dialed in before it hits the PlayStation 5. There's a lot riding on that April 30 date. Saros is stepping up as the defining first-party PlayStation exclusive for the first half of 2026, marking the end of a pretty long wait for fans craving that signature Housemarque intensity. If you're one of those diehard players who absolutely cannot wait until the end of the month, there is a soft launch to keep on your radar. The Digital Deluxe Edition includes a 48-hour early access window, meaning you can technically start your run on April 28. It is a smart move that has the community hyped, setting up a massive launch week for one of the most anticipated titles of the year. Moving down to number 9, let us talk about the man behind the visor. In Saros, you step into the boots of Arjun Devraj, a Soltari enforcer sent to investigate an isolated off-world colony. But unlike a lot of heavy action games where the protagonist is just a silent vessel for shooting things, Devraj is a fully realized character brought to life by actor Rahul Kohli. You probably know Kohli from shows like Midnight Mass or The Fall of the House of Usher, and he is providing both the voice and the full motion capture here. If you played Housemarque's previous title, Returnal, you might remember that while the atmosphere was incredible, the narrative was heavily abstract and sometimes tough to piece together. The studio took that feedback to heart. With Saros, they are explicitly aiming for a powerful, traditional character study. They want to ground the high-stakes sci-fi action in a very human perspective. Devraj has a specific personal motivation for taking on this mission involving the search for a mysterious person, and the game uses holograms and environmental storytelling to flesh out exactly what this journey is costing him mentally. The community response to this casting has been overwhelmingly positive. Kohli is a massive vocal gamer who actually used to work in video game retail, and he has openly called this a lifelong dream role. It feels incredibly authentic, completely avoiding that dreaded celebrity marketing stunt vibe, and gives us a protagonist with real emotional depth that we can actually root for. Coming in at number 8, we have the evolution of Housemarque's signature bullet ballet combat. If you played Returnal, you already know the deal. Intense, circular, bullet hell patterns and screens filled with chaotic, glowing death. But Saros is shaking up that formula in a massive way by introducing a brand new parry mechanic. Instead of relying purely on your dodge frames to survive, you can now actively deflect and bounce those neon projectiles right back at the enemy. It completely changes the dynamic of a fight. The community is already incredibly hyped for this edition because it addresses that pure dodge limitation we had in their last game, opening the door for a much more aggressive playstyle. The developers are explicitly designing these encounters to induce a flow state. They want you actively charging into danger, balancing high-tech weaponry with fluid movement, rather than constantly backpedaling away from the horde. And you can't talk about this bullet ballet without mentioning the sheer sensory overload. The combination of the neon-drenched combat and Sam Slater's otherworldly score takes the cinematic intensity to a whole new level. It is fast, it demands absolute precision, and it looks like it is going to make every single firefight an absolute adrenaline rush. Moving down to number 7, let's talk hardware. Because if you played Returnal, Housemarque does not mess around when it comes to visual spectacle. It is officially confirmed that Saros will be PS5 Pro Enhanced. While the studio has not locked down the exact resolution or frame rate targets for us yet, they are promising additional visuals and higher levels of performance. Since this is a fast-paced, gameplay-first experience packed with corrupted projectiles and massive particle effects, taking advantage of the upgraded hardware feels like a mandatory feature to keep the action smooth. The expectation is that Saros will leverage PSSR or PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution to maintain a rock-solid 4K output or potentially target 120 frames per second during the most chaotic bullet hell moments. Fans are fully expecting this to be a massive showcase title for the PS5 Pro. but there is some cautious optimism floating around. A lot of players are holding out for a deep dive technical breakdown to see exactly how much of a leap the Pro version offers over the base console. People specifically want to see how the boosted ray tracing and lighting hold up when the game throws its most demanding shape-shifting environments at the screen. Coming in at number 6 is the actual setting of our nightmare, the Planet Carcosa. Housemarque is treating this environment as a living, breathing enemy rather than just a pretty backdrop to shoot things in. Carcosa is a hostile, shape-shifting alien world that fundamentally alters its layout after every death. It is the beating heart of the game's roguelike structure, guaranteeing that no two runs will ever feel exactly the same. Instead of standard sci-fi corridors, the developers are leaning heavily into cosmic horror. You will be exploring incredibly eerie, dreamlike biomes packed with alien ruins and shifting pathways that are designed to mess with you on a psychological level. The atmosphere is thick with unease. It is a fallen off-world colony where the very ground beneath your feet feels like it actively wants you dead. The environmental storytelling here is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, giving us a world that feels incredibly ancient and deeply corrupted. You're not just surviving the enemies, you're trying to survive Carcosa itself. Down at number 5, we are looking at a massive shift in how Housemarque handles defense. If you played Returnal, evasion was basically your only way to stay alive. But Saros is flipping the script with the Soltari shield. By holding down R1, you deploy a defensive barrier that completely overhauls the traditional bullet hell formula. Instead of just frantic dodging, the Soltari shield actually absorbs the energy from incoming enemy fire. It is a brilliant harvest and return system. You eat those chaotic bullet patterns, bank the energy, and use it to charge up what the developers call Carcosan power weapons. Once you're fully charged, aiming with the L2 adaptive trigger and firing with R2 unleashes a devastating explosive counterattack. But there is a catch. This mechanic acts as a literal double-edged sword. Discharging this harvested energy transforms Arjun's right arm into an Eclipse-fueled weapon, which actively corrupts him in the process. It introduces a tense risk-reward layer to the combat that forces you to weigh the cost of every massive attack. Lead game designer Ababy Tanari has pointed out that enemy bullet patterns and even environmental puzzles were built from the ground up around this exact defensive to offensive flow. The early community reaction has been incredibly positive too. Players are praising how this shifts the gameplay loop away from feeling fragile and constantly running away. Instead, it gives you a more aggressive tactical approach where you're actively rewarded for standing your ground and turning the chaos into your own firepower. Coming in at number 4 is a feature that has a lot of people breathing a massive sigh of relief, the permanent progression system. Look, we all know Housemarque's previous game, Returnal, was phenomenal, but a bad run often meant losing absolutely everything. Saros is taking a different approach with a comeback stronger philosophy. Instead of starting from scratch, every time you die, the resources you collect during a run are brought back to the game's hub, known as the Passage. Here, you invest those materials into the armor matrix to permanently upgrade your Soltari combat suit and unlock persistent perks. It is designed so that even if you fail, you retain enough power to make your next attempt genuinely easier. The studio is also adding a second chance mechanic, which is a one-time revival fueled by corruption energy that keeps your current run alive without instantly sending you back to the start. The community response to this has been mostly positive. A lot of players who bounced off Returnal due to its brutal difficulty are excited that Saros respects their time a bit more. Sure, there's a vocal segment of hardcore fans worrying this might just make the game a softer Returnal sequel, but shifting the focus to meaningful failure rather than total punishment seems like a smart way to welcome new players without killing the tension. At number 3, we have the Eclipse Escalation. That massive, ominous eclipse hanging over the map isn't just set dressing. It is a dynamic difficulty modifier that actively shifts the rules of the game. As the eclipse progresses, it corrupts the world around you. Enemies get drastically deadlier, firing corrupted projectiles that actually reduce your maximum armor integrity for the run. To counter this, you have to strategically use your power weapons to cleanse the corruption. But the environment turns against you too. In areas like the blighted marsh water that was perfectly safe to splash through suddenly becomes a hazardous trap that burns you when the eclipse is active, forcing you to completely rethink your movement and positioning mid-fight. Even your gear isn't safe from the event. The Eclipse applies randomized positive and negative effects to your weapons and artifacts. The community is already praising this mechanic because it guarantees emergent gameplay. Instead of relying on a single overpowered meta build, the corruption forces you to constantly adapt to whatever bizarre hand the Eclipse deals you. Players are looking at this as a brilliant evolution of the Returnal formula. Enduring the Eclipse Escalation is high risk, but it is the main way to farm rare resources like Lucenite and Helicon to take back to the Passage. It keeps the intense bullet hell action Housemarque is known for, while ensuring every terrifying phase of the Eclipse heavily rewards your survival. Coming in at number 2 is a massive shift in how we approach the action: weapon customization and loadouts. If you played Housemarque's previous hit Returnal, you probably remember the punishing RNG. A bad weapon drop could absolutely tank a lengthy run, and the community definitely felt that fatigue. Saros is taking a completely different approach to respect your time. Instead of praying to the random number generators, you actually get to curate your arsenal before you even step foot into a run. You can mix and match standard human Soltari technology, like the heavy-hitting phosphorus shotgun, with bizarre alien Carcosa weaponry, because you can permanently upgrade and evolve these specific weapons and suit parts over time. You always return stronger. The community is already hyped about the strategic depth this adds. You're no longer just reacting to what the game hands you. You're actively building a meta. You can tailor your specific loadout to counter whatever biome or boss you're about to drop into. This system also heavily leans into combat synergy. For example, you can specifically build a loadout where your Soltari shield absorbs enemy projectiles, which directly feeds into charging up your Carcosa power weapon. Once that energy is harvested, you can discharge all that absorbed bullet hell right back into the swarm. It is a brilliant way to reward smart loadout curation and gives players a much tighter grip on their own survival. And finally, taking the number 1 spot on our list is the beating heart of the game, the mystery of the Lost Colony. At its core, Saros is a massive, haunting sci-fi whodunit. As Soltari Enforcer Arjun Devraj, you aren't just surviving the ruins of Carcosa, you are actively hunting for answers about what happened to its missing off-world colony. This wasn't a simple evacuation gone wrong. The lore suggests their disappearance is tied directly to a sinister cosmic force distorting the world and its inhabitants. To piece together the truth, you will gather clues from Soltari holograms scattered across the planet and return to a hub area known as the Passage. Here, you interact with an ensemble cast of NPCs, including Echelon Force survivors like Sheridan Bouchard, voiced by Jane Perry. The community is already comparing the cryptic psychological storytelling to Housemarque's previous game Returnal, but with a ton of praise for the shift toward a more character-driven narrative rather than a purely solitary experience. Fans are heavily theorizing over the lore right now, specifically focusing on the chilling detail that the colonists did not all die, some of them simply changed. Whether that horrific transformation was caused by the planet itself or the cosmic phenomena above remains the ultimate question driving the narrative, and it is easily the most compelling reason we want to uncover the secrets of Carcosa. And that's our list for 10 things we know about Saros. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive, and let us know in the comments what we missed. Here are some more videos of ours you can watch. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.